supper and a mother at the best place around. Some stupid with a flare gun burned a place to the ground. Smoke on the water, a fire in the sky. Smoke on the water. Funky and Claude was running in and out, pulling kids out of the ground. But when it all was over, we had to find another place. Swiss time was running out, it seemed that we would lose the race. Smoke on the water, fire in the sky. Smoke on the water.
Hi, darlings. This is a very, very different Rudy Backstage today. Buonasera, good evening, hallo, guten Tag, guten Abend, wherever you are. I was thinking of doing for the first time no backstage on Sunday, but then I changed my mind and I said no. Reason being, if you follow me on Insta, Facebook or wherever, of course that a very good friend of mine, Rob Bolton, the creator of Rock Me Amadeus and many other world hits, is very, very ill. And but we're doing a backstage, but it's going to be different. I didn't want to start with all the and this is backstage now of my side. Please understand. But also, as always, Rudy tries to, as what you think is going to be, a disadvantage, I'm trying to make an advantage out of it. So this is now a backstage, which actually a lot of you guys, I say this in the American way of ladies and gentlemen, of you, my fans, my friends, my followers, have asked me to do, which is no little films, no videos, no nothing, just Rudy talking. And that's what you get. I have prepared a little bit, but it's all spontaneous. Apart from at the end, there is not going to be anything that I play in. You have just Rudy talking. And I can promise you one thing. It's going to be interesting. So, meine Damen und Herren, let me say a few words in German. Für die Herrschaften, die mir zuschauen aus Österreich, Deutschland oder der Schweiz, das ist eine ganz andere Backstage-Sendung. Ich habe überlegt, sie überhaupt wegzulassen, aber wir haben so viele Wochen jetzt regelmäßig um die Uhrzeit und vor allem auch in der Zeit der Pandemie Rudy Backstage gehabt, every fucking Sunday, dass ich mir gedacht habe, es warten viele drauf und viele würden enttäuscht sein. Daher gibt es sie, ist eine besondere, es gibt Rudy, wie immer lang ich es aushalte oder was zu sagen habe, nur sprechend und zwar vor allem zu Ehren meines Freundes Rob Bolland. So this program is dedicated to Rob Bolland, who has cancer. I'm allowed to say that. I asked him, and it looks very, very bad. I'm not gonna say more. And it hit me like a hammer. Now, why? I have to explain that because obviously I'm reaching an age where I see a lot of people go. I mean, remember when I was 40, FALCO died, but it was a car accident. Very soon in my career, Freddie Mercury left us. Even before that, Frank Zappa, who was one of my three mentors, I always say Frank Zappa, Keith Richards, who is still alive, hi Keith, and Freddie. So Freddie went. Then in the last years, and this obviously gets closer the more mature you become. David Bowie, Joe Cocker, a lot of people that I had the privilege of working with, they are already up there. Probably the best band is going to be in heaven in the moment. But Rob is still alive. This is also a program that is meant to make him hope, because I said to him, hope dies the last. It's never over until you say it's over. So, but I want to dedicate it. This is a tribute. And it's also more or less a tryout program of possibly a new format that I had in mind. I always have to change things. We had reached now a certain way of Backstage, which is quite nice. Yeah, I mean, remember the Queen, the Untold Stories Part 1, or also the one of last week, which is already slick and has a nice flow and everything, yes, but it's one thing. Okay, I am somebody who never liked to repeat himself too many times. So I was, as you know, in the beginning creating Backstage Plus, only Q&A, and then Backstage Resume, where I played guitar, which I might do today, depending on how I feel. But this one is now something I've never done. I have to keep talking for almost an hour, or for whatever, maybe half an hour, I have no idea, yeah? However, it's over when I have left to say anything. By the way, that gives me a good idea. I forgot to time it, because, and that's also something new. Hang on, I have to, my mistake, my God. Where are we? No, oh my God. Give me a moment, darlings. That's all, it's, it's how it is. Here we go. So that, okay. Because I promised you something absolutely new, but it's actually two things very new, actually three. One is that it's a very special way of Backstage. Another one that it's completely dedicated to one person and without any videos, not like Queen, where there was also. And the third one, and I'm very, very proud, and I asked him, and I'm allowed to say that, is that my son, my Ruby Dolezal, in full name Rudolf Ruben Dolezal, is today recording this. So he is operating, if you want, he is the post-production supervisor, because my other guys are on different jobs, and Ruby, which is something which always is a dream of the father, is doing this week to help out. And thank you, Ruby, for doing this. But back to what we want to say. Why is that so important to me, the Rob Bolton thing? Well, you have to understand the following. We have an experience together. I call it the five. It's FALCO, alias also known as Hans Hölzl, Rob and his brother Ferdi Bolland, who were very responsible for the song and did also the production. And then Dolezal and Rossacher, my ex-partner. Because we created something with the song, the video, the success, Rock Me Amadeus, which was completely unexpected. We were 3 Austrians, 2 Dutch, and we made it with with a German sang song, and it became #1 in the Billboard charts. The video was the most played video on MTV for a whole year, and I don't know how many millions of hits it still has almost every day. You can look it all up. So, and that is something that puts you together. So one of the 5 is not with us anymore. So if there's now the danger that Rob is close to the end of his life, then that's something which obviously is as sad as when Falco had his car accident, which changed my life, which, as you know, happened the morning after my 40th birthday. So my birthday, which is the 5th of February, and his day of dying, which is the 6th of February, will always be combined. So, I mean, we had something together, and we are combined until I say goodbye and go somewhere, either heaven or hell. Actually, Freddie Mercury always said, and we are back with Queen, that he would actually prefer to go to hell because he thinks the much more interesting people are in hell than in heaven. Because all the saints are pretty boring. That was Freddie's thought. But anyway, and also, you see, I don't want to be sad all the time because this should keep, but I want to pay tribute. So it's a very special experience, you know, of the five of us, which was also the reason why I intensively talked to my ex-partner Rosacher in the last week, since I knew it, because that's actually the only people I can't talk to FALCO anymore that that can really relate, because we did this together. So, and then comes on top of that, and let me drink. We have a lot of heat here. I mean, it's like close to 100 degrees or something Fahrenheit. But I didn't want to do it without a T-shirt, because it's a tribute to my friend FALCO, so and to my friend Rob Bolton. So being here, naked or half naked is not the way that I think you pay. You make a tribute and dedicate the whole program to an outstanding genius, Rob Bolton. So thing is, also Rob is about my age. And it's not a car accident, as more than 20 years ago with our friend FALCO. It's something that also can happen to you and me and Hannes Rosacher and Freddie Bolland and all the others of the five, or anybody. So I interviewed once somebody, I think it was Frank Zappa, but I would have to look it up, who said, when you reach a certain age, you are sort of slowly but surely it sinks in that the end of your life is closer than your birth. Which with me, I always play over that fact by saying, that I'm 60-ish in the moment. Although I don't look too bad, quoting Freddie Mercury, for 62, I don't look too bad. He said 37. But I'm always saying my plan is to become 120 years old. So 60 is the middle of the life. I'm saying this not because I'm so ambitious to do so many more films or whatever, but mainly to be a witness of my two great sons, Ruby and Benny. By the way, since I mentioned Ruby, I have to mention Benny. I was quickly looking for a photograph. I only found this one, which is obviously many, many years ago when he was a little boy. This is here in Miami when Ruby, who was recording this, Benny and myself, and very often also the mother, Martina, we went to a place called Parrot Jungle, later called Parrot Island. And we always made photographs with parrots. So anyway, but that because I want to be a witness how they develop. That's always every parent wants to do that. That you see your sons or your daughters are okay, they're doing okay, and they grow, and you can help them, or you can just watch it. Ruby, Benny, and I, we lived 9 years together in our house in Vienna, in actually Purkersdorf near Vienna, when I was more or less a single dad. Now they are with their mother, which is, I think, a fair share now, for reasons which are nobody's business. But I'm very, very proud of the two. So anyway, I overplay it. I mean, of course you think about the end is closer than the beginning. With FALCO, it was different because, I stopped driving cars before FALCO because I had an accident. By the way, like he had one in the Dominican Republic, FALCO, and he didn't stop driving. And I had a car accident and I stopped driving, more or less. Yes, I'm doing slow, little distances, whatever. And he should have stopped, because then he wouldn't have had the accident, because he was always driving when he was drunk and when he was taking drugs, which is a very bad idea. I was not drunk and did not take any drugs, but I could see how quickly the life goes. And I said, okay, I'm going to eliminate that out of my life as much as I can. So, back to BOLLAND. This could be named something like the backstage story of Rob Bolton, or of Rob Bolton and Ferdy Bolland, who are the creators of the world hit Rock Me Amadeus, as of many other hits. And I make a little profile for those of you who don't know. There is on purpose. There's no photographs. There's no videos. You have to use your imagination, or you can Google it afterwards. Just listen to the guy in the black T-shirt. What are they famous for? Well, Rob and Ferdy Bolland are brothers. Yeah, Rob is the older brother. Excuse me. Rob is born on April 17th, 1955. In Port Elizabeth in South Africa. Ferdy is the younger brother. What are they famous for? Well, first of all, Rock Me Amadeus of FALCO. They had the song before FALCO was chosen to sing it, as far as I remember. Anyway, they had the song, and FALCO was doing his manager, Horst Borg, always called it Falconize. He made out of the songs of somebody else a FALCO song by putting something on top, which only he could do. So there were two geniuses from Holland meeting one genius from Austria. Actually, who brought them together was Horst Borg, the manager of FALCO. Hans Hölzl, we always called him Hans. So they have created that. Genie, Vienna Calling, many other FALCO hits. But they also had other hits. For example, Status Quo, In the Army Now, etc., etc. I come to this later. Interesting is also that Rob and Ferdy Bolland, who were born in South Africa, Port Elizabeth, were children stars when they were young. Yeah, which is interesting. So they were performing together as children. And early projects later, as artists as well as producers and songwriters, include, for example, the Domino Theory, which you probably haven't heard of, which is a critical look at war and the conflicts from the viewpoint. Foreign conflicts and U.S. intervention from the viewpoint of a foot soldier. And for that album, they created the song In the Army Now, which first of all became #1 in Norway and top 10 in South Africa. But then a certain, and I'm sure you don't know him, but in the rock history he's important, or the more mature viewers of that and followers. Francis Rossi of the British rock band Status Quo, guitarist of the 60s and 70s cult band Status Quo. He was driving on the Autobahn, I think it was in Germany, on the highway, and he heard that song in the radio and persuaded his band to record it, which then made a top hit in the UK with In the Army Now. So later, the two of them, who had many other projects, which are now too much to, you can Google them, yeah, the Bollands, they're also calling them the Bollands for some projects. They created a studio in Holland, the Bolland in Holland, in the Dutch countryside, and it's located in Blaricum, yeah, I've been there quite a few times. And artists, and unfortunately, most of them probably you don't know, but I'm just quickly mentioning them because they were big hits and big stars in the 70s, 80s, 90s. FALCO, Status Quo, Suzi Quatro, Samantha Fox, Roger Chapman, great voice, and Herman Brood, who is a Dutch genius who unfortunately died far too young. He was unfortunately also a heroin addict, and was logical that from Netherlands to Bolland brothers would come together with another very, very outstanding artist like Herman Brood. I have stories with Herman Brood. Oh my God! He was also the friend of Nina Hagen, Herman Brood, for a long time ago. But he's not the father of her daughter, of Nina. I'm not either. I'm sorry, because it was in the papers at the time. It's BS, meaning not Backstage. But the thing is that Herman Brood was also a painter. And there was a big media conference every year. It started in Montreux, Switzerland, where, of course, there is the Freddie statue and a lot of Queen history. But it was also in Amsterdam later. It was called IMMC, International Music and Media Conference, where once a year, all over the world, record companies brought artists who are releasing something together, and media people like myself or the Doro team had the possibility to interview them. So you could interview on one day, I don't know, superstars and Dweezil Zappa and Genesis and whatever. And because we were in Amsterdam, I knew that Herman Brood from Nina Hagen was a great guy. So we were there. Anyway, long story short, he made pictures which were so big. This was unbelievable. And we spent the whole evening, which should become the whole night there. I think I'm not even sure if Rob Bolton might have been with me thus. And he was also a heavy cocaine user. And we made the mistake, my cameraman, who was a German guy, and myself. And if Rob was there, I have the freedom to say, I'm sure he joined in. We also took it so it was a never-ending story. I mean, actually, the whole material is unreleased. And because I was trying to interview him, but then Herman Brood didn't bring a sentence out of his mouth, which made any sense. But we filmed the great pictures. It's still, I might use it for, I don't know, whatever. So, last project of Rob, which actually he and I talked about, was when we met in Amsterdam recently, not long ago, that he was dreaming or planning or actually working on a very special FALCO musical. You know, there's a few FALCO musicals around, especially in the German-speaking market, but the big one is still to do. I also have some ideas regarding that, but anyway. So that's a little bit a short-term history of where Rob Bolton comes. First of all, I have the feeling we are very similar, and also the fact that he was working with his brother as a duo, and I was for many years, 27 years, working with my partner Hannes Rossacher. We were also a duo, and the two duos we know were doing a lot of work together. We also filmed, for example, a video. I think was called for the song "Walking on Thin Ice," where they were artists. The Bolland project, so Bolland and Bolland, in Munich, Germany, in the Bavaria studio, where also some Queen videos were filmed. And Doro did a lot of videos in the Bavaria studios, like tons. So anyway, but there was similarities. That's why I'm relating so much to that. And I hope you understand. And I hope you also forgive me that I'm doing something here which I haven't done. But I think it's a different kind, and it's quite nice. We can always go back to the Backstage. I have a few news regarding Backstage as well. Excuse me for drinking, but I have to stay hydrated. So Rob Bolland, or Rob and Ferdi Bolland, to be honest, or to be correct. Ferdi is also a great guy, by the way. Let's not get this. Ferdi, as far as I know, sort of is living a very healthy life. Is the younger brother. In Holland or in the Netherlands, it's not a secret that they had various difficulties with each other. They're not working with each other for quite a few years or many years. However, there is now a documentary planned, and might be that I'm involved in that. It's not clear about the Bolland and Bolland, where they probably come together. Anyway, but projects of Doro, excuse me, that's the water. Projects of Doro, respectively myself, that Rob and Freddie Bolland were featured or in, or had something to do, are, apart from all the videos, of course. I mean, you know that Doro was responsible for practically all the videos, apart from two very early ones. We then later were in re-edits, also became Doro videos. But so obviously we were always involved in that. But there was a documentary that in the year when Falco died, it was called Hoch wie nie, High as Never. By the way, this was later came out as a DVD, which, by the way, recently was awarded with a multi-platinum. That's Mr. Falco. That's his signature. And it says, the tribute of Rudi Dolezal and Hans Rossacher. That's also Falco. For those of you, he was a good-looking guy. And that's also Falco. But this Hoch wie nie, that's the actual DVD. And of course, they were featured in there. We filmed them quite many times. Then another documentary, which is actually, I think, which is still available, was called Falco 3. You know, the Falco 3 was the third Falco album on which Rock Me Amadeus and Vienna Calling and Genie all were, and it was the first one that Rob and Freddie Bolland produced, because Falco had another producer named Robert Ponga, also a great producer, and had the quite big hit, Der Kommissar, which was in New York a club hit also, and the #1 in Germany, Austria, and a top 10 in other countries. But it wasn't America yet. The US #1 came with the Bolland, when Bollands and Falco came together. Although Kommissar was a big hit in America, but played by another band, which was called, if I remember correctly, After the Fire, who were a top 10 or something, because the song had potential, but at the time, maybe it was record company or timing, or I don't know. So the legendary Falco 3 videos is a documentary which was done by me for an anniversary of Rock Me Amadeus, and it was part of a enhanced CD DVD package with the re-release of Falco 3, which was the album that also was top 10 in the United States. Yeah. Then we did a lot of filming with the two for a German, Austria, Switzerland, by the way, Deutschland, Österreich, Schweiz, TV series, which Rossacher and I did for more than 10 years, which was called Musikszene, where we did various filmings in his studio, etc., etc. Then there was a big documentary that I did, which was called Muss ich denn sterben, zu leben? Do I have to die to live? Which is a lyric line from one of his last songs, of Falco's last songs, which was called Out of the Dark. Then there was Falco the Poet, another documentary of mine. Then there was Tribute to Falco, which was actually a Bolland project where they produced a young black African-American, but she was Dutch, singer who was singing a tribute song to Falco and with quotes of Genie, Rock Me Amadeus, Vienna Calling, etc. It was very interesting. The video was also quite good work. And then, of course, there was the very last one I did so far, which was called Falco, the Ultimate Documentary, which was the first documentary where I physically went to the Dominican Republic, as you know, pretty close to Miami here, from which I'm doing this. Many years after his death, I went to the actual place where he died, where the car accident happened, and I researched if it was suicide or accident, and my conclusio, my result is that it was an accident and not a suicide. And this ultimate documentary, which was for Germany, Austria, Switzerland, is going to be released worldwide as it looks next year, 2021. And it also includes Rob and Freddy Bolland. So I hope you're not bored by now. We are close to half an hour. I would now switch and do, if you agree, but you can't, which is, by the way, you know what? Let me do this. I tell you a few new things about Backstage, and then I come back, because I still have stories, very interesting stories around Rob Bolland, which are also partly super fun in FALCO, which I haven't told before. So let me tell you a little bit what the news are regarding Backstage. Well, first of all, you know that I am very soon, at least for some time, going to return to Europe, to Germany and Austria. Hopefully, hello Ruby and hello Benny, see my sons, very surely see my sons. Of course, I have to do a 2-week quarantine because I'm coming from a high-risk country like the United States, which you all know, or most of you know. So I'm actually, you don't see that because here at Rudy Backstage we always have a certain look of a part of my office, but I'm in the middle of packing. And because slowly I'm going to take down things from the walls and whatever, I'm in the middle of it. I had the idea today, or 2 to 3 days ago, that the next time I'm going to put the camera somewhere where I'm in the middle of packing. And while I'm taking things down, possibly, or, I'm going to talk, for example, here on the back you have awards, yeah, as you know. Well, when I'm packing the awards, I'm going to have a few of them in the hand, and I'm going to talking a little bit about it. I originally was thinking of doing short little films about it, but now I make it into the concept because I think it's quite interesting and it gives me more freedom. The pre-produced videos, I'm trying to be on the point and so on. And here I'm just talking. So, but talking about awards. This is, by the way, one which I'm very, very proud of. I recently won it again with Peter Maffay, together with my co-director Hans Pannekuke and Peter Maffay, for the very, very interesting video for the excellent song Morgen, Tomorrow, which, as you know, is blaming all the right-wing, all the bad things that happen in our societies. But this one here is for Whitney Close-Up, and this is something I'm also very. It's a little bit like it feels like an Oscar, but it's not the Oscar yet. So anyway, thing is that I'm having quite a lot of them, and here is the whole walls are full, and sometimes when I did the Rudy Run, you saw parts of it. So this is one idea. One will also be in the kitchen. An idea we had a long time ago, and now I'm going to do it. So because it's more or less saying goodbye, also to this office, I will come back to the States, but maybe in a different way. I'm not sure if it's going to be the same place. That's in negotiation in the moment. It might be a different place, and I was here for 9 years, so there's a lot of stories to tell. So that is one new concept idea for Backstage, for which this story of Rob Bolland, or Rob and Ferdy Bolland, is sort of the kickoff. We have, by the way, since we count, there were a few in the beginning which we didn't count, Backstage number 27 today. And I said it before, it's this week recorded by one of my 2 wonderful sons, Ruby Dolezaj, which I'm very proud of. He's, by the way, very good in athletics and sports, and anyway, but that's a different time. He probably doesn't like it when I talk too much about him. So that's also why at the end of all of my postings on Instagram, you always see somewhere proud father and sons and the 2 Insta addresses of Ruby and Benny. Because actually, without Ruby and Benny, I would never be on Instagram, because they helped me doing my first my first account when I started with 0 followers and 0 postings and 0 knowledge of what I'm going to do. So thanks again for this, boys. Boys are still now. They are young men now. Yeah. So this is a little bit about Backstage. So Backstage is also changing. Then, of course, I will be, at least for some times, definitely from Vienna and or Munich, or both, because in Munich there is a new project which I'm very, very excited. But it's too early to say. In Vienna, I have first of all my sons. I'm going back to Vienna. There's for one reason only. That's Ruby and Benny. Because we've never been separated for so long, and this is like torture for a father. But I came to so many good decisions. Like my sons appreciated that I tried to get a new lifestyle, but it's now over 250 days of run, Rudy, run, and no smoking cigarettes or smoking of any kind, and more than 200 days of not a drop of alcohol, which led to some brain activities and some basic, insights. I was getting more aware of things, and I'm at a new phase of my life in which I also want to again put quality time with my 2 sons in the focus, and therefore this is not possible with an Atlantic Ocean in between. Anyway, so and then there is also a very interesting project in Vienna, I have to say, and for those of you who are viewing this in Austria or Germany, there's also a very, very important election. Es gibt eine sehr wichtige Wahl, nämlich die Wien-Wahl, und ich werde mich zum ersten Mal seit vielen Jahren deklarieren für einen bestimmten Kandidaten bzw. eine bestimmte Partei. Ich bin ja bekannterweise parteiunabhängig, immer ein freischwebender Künstler, habe mir aber die Freiheit herausgenommen, immer wieder mich zu politischen Dingen zu äußern. Die mich lang kennen, wissen, dass ich auch Politikwissenschaft und Publizistik studiert habe. Talking German means that there is a very important election in Vienna soon, in October, and I'm doing something which I'm very rarely doing. I'm going to endorse a candidate because it's a very important and time and a very important election, similar to your election here in November. But I've said enough to that, and today is Rob Bolton. So going back to Bolland stories, how much time we have left? Okay, we forgot in the beginning, so let's say we put 5 minutes on top. I hope, Ruby, we are still recording. I haven't heard anything else. Ruby, do you want to check if we're still recording? No, we are still recording, right, Ruby? We're still live, right? Okay, anyway. So, long story short, there's now few stories that I want to tell. One is that actually a story that Rob and Ferdi told me, how they had their first meeting. With FALCO. It was in Holland. FALCO was flying in, and the peculiar thing about it is that FALCO came with his manager Horst Borg, and it was like 10 or 11 in the morning. And it was the very first time they met. And FALCO was completely drunk at 10 and 11. And they thought, well, I mean, they were rock and roll and everything, but they thought, I mean, for the very first meeting, we've never met before, and we're talking about working together. So they had planned to do some recordings, but then they soon changed their mind and said, okay, you know what? Thank you very much. You're a great guy, but sort of, I'm not, it's not quotes. Go to the hotel and have a good day's sleep, and then and then come back the next day. Another story which Rob told me, or Rob and Ferdi told me, but Rob was the main part, is, Falco was always taking drugs, drinking alcohol, taking pills. That was unfortunately very, very often the case. He had phases where he was not drinking, or like half a year, 3/4 of a year, but he always was going back to it. And I think it was around when, pretty late in their relationship, when actually Rob ended the working relationship for Rob and Ferdi. It was they were meeting in the studio in the Netherlands, in Holland. And there were people from America, for the American and English, I think, record company flying in, because they were discussing an English version of the song Genie, which was a big hit. And the Doro video is pretty sort of still well known and recepted for interesting visual quotes to famous feature films like Hitchcock, etc. And but the thing is that they were discussing, they wanted to make this also to a #1 in America, and that didn't work because Genie was a slow song all in German, and therefore they wanted to at least have the chorus or something. And Falco was completely drunk and was refusing to talk about it. And for the two producers, and also again, mostly writers. I mean, Falco again had some songwriting credits because he added some lyrics which were important. Because Genie was at the beginning a love song, which between you and me would have never had the same success in Germany, Austria, Switzerland. But Falco made it, Falconized it, and made it into a hit. And they were so furious that for one reason, I mean, I'm not so sure, was it Falco, I think, or was it then BOLLAND, who was throwing a TV set out of the window or something like that, I have to ask Rob. And then Rob said, this is enough, out. And then Falco and Horst Borg, and Horst Borg was confirming that story, were sitting outside the studio. Falco was laying himself on the street where there were cars going back and forth, and said, Rob, save me. And I remember Horst Borg saying, well, he was sitting there on the pavement and saying, okay, how far do I have to go with this problematic person, Falco alias Hans Hölzl? And that was the moment where also Horst Borg decided that the working relationship comes to an end. It's a big pity because, I mean, Hans Hölzl alias Falco, we did also then later a video which was called Mutter der Mann mit dem Koks ist da, which was already in the later generations of other musical styles. He was pretty cool, Falco, to adapt, and he would still be successful in one way or the other. And so there is a lot of stories, but I mean, I think what I would like to say is that for you guys, for everybody who views that, go online, look up not only the videos, but check the songs. Check Rob and Ferdi BOLLAND, the BOLLAND projects, what they have produced, etc. They are European superstars as producers, also artists themselves, and songwriters, and they're worth being recognized. Although, of course, being my age, we come into a phase where a lot of young people don't know the superstars' names anymore that we worked with. But anyway, the songs sometimes are sampled and used or sang by other artists, but you never probably know that actually that was a song by Rob and Ferdi BOLLAND or whatever. So check them out. It's worth. Also, some of the documentaries that I mentioned, they are online. Soon, a lot of that will be on a new version of Rudi Dolezal's Doro TV, which will also become bigger very soon. There's still, by the way, the last possibilities of getting what I call a friendship certificate by subscribing my YouTube channel, because it will never come again, and it will have advantages. You know, and I said that for everybody who was so kind to pre-order my book and pay $10 or $15. I'm going to make a exclusive reading soon of quite a few excerpts. I'm also planning to do this in various languages. Of course, different readings, not all together. But we are discussing German, English, French, and Italian. Maybe even Czech, although that's going to be super difficult, but I don't think so. But those other, German and English for sure, and I'm very hard working on French and Italian, at least a bit of it, so that you have a thank you for the waiting time, because some people were saying, okay, now the book is finished, when is it shipped? Well, okay, it's finished, I wrote it. You know, now we have to pick the visuals, which we're in the middle of doing, etc., etc. It has to be printed, There will be an audiobook, there will be a video book, what have you. So, I mean, and it's all, etc., etc. But, so that is also something, but, and we will establish some things which also news, but I'll do that the next time. I want to finish this very, very special edition of Backstage with basically a love letter to Rob Bolland. And I'll let you hear it, and I'm going to make it so that it's okay for the general audience. Dear Rob, you're such a great person. And when we talked recently and you more or less said, you know, it's over, I said to you, it's never over until you say it's over. Hope dies the last. There are things, also especially with your illness, that sometimes cannot be explained, and they happen. There are people who were cured or self-cured themselves miraculously without a miracle, and I'm not believing in miracles as miracles. So don't give up the hope. Stay active. Yes, allow, of course, in between whatever comes up in you, but you are such a genius that I'm super, super excited of what else you come up with. And you're such a creative person that whenever you have the time, enjoy talking to you. And I'm always your friend, and you can always call me, although in the moment we still have a big time difference, but soon I will be on the European continent. And let's talk, because talking to you is very special for me, because as I said now for over half an hour, almost 3/4 of an hour, we created together with 3 other guys something very, very special, which bounds us together forever. And apart from that, it was always fun. I remember when you came to a FALCO presentation of one of my films. I think it was Muss ich denn sterben, zu leben? Or was it the FALCO exhibit, which a good friend, Edek Bartz, organized? And we had a really great party night, if you remember. And in the morning, there was some broken glass in the shower, which I had to come up with. But anyway, there's so many different stories that we are sharing that we should actually not forget. So stay positive, dear Rob Bolland. A lot of people wrote to me on various platforms that they're praying for you, they're hoping for you, they love you. And all this positive energy must create something, I'm sure. So Rob, stay and don't lose the hope. And everybody who listened and viewed today, I say thank you. This was a very special edition of Rudy Backstage. As always, love and respect.
You wanna know what goes on backstage? Oh, come on. Let me take you by the hand. Ow!
Rudy, are you ready?
Ladies and gentlemen.
The way I see it, Barry, this should be a very dynamite show.
You know, I have no idea what the name of this program is, but you're watching it.
Backstage. All you ever want. Backstage. All you ever need. Backstage. Your dreams will be fulfilled once you are there. You'll never wanna leave. You wanna sell your ass for that backstage pass. Backstage is just for the invited.